To start our cornbread, we are going to start with the dry ingredients and then add the wet ingredients. So I want to first put in the cornmeal. You can use yellow cornmeal, you can use white cornmeal. I like yellow cornmeal because yellow cornbread really looks good. And then after you add your cornmeal, I'm using self-rising flour or self-raising flour so I don't have to add baking powder and baking soda into it. And the reason why I'm using it is because I want my cornbread to be a little bit fluffy, or a little bit fluffier than it would be without the flour. If you don't want to use flour, that's okay too. Your cornbread will be a little bit heartier than it normally would be without the flour. But you still would add baking powder and baking soda in order to leaven it. So you've got your flour and your cornmeal in here, and I'm going to put 1 egg. If you're not an egg eater or you don't have an egg, you can use 1/3 cup of mayonnaise. You can also use milk or sour cream. If you don't have milk or sour cream, you can use buttermilk. Most people don't have buttermilk just hanging out in their refrigerators. But you can also do a mix of sour cream and milk as well. I want to save my milk for drinking purposes, so I'm going to use sour cream today. And so after you put that in there, normally I like a fresh corn kernel in my cornbread, but I don't have any, so what I do have is a can of cream style corn. So when it was time to go to the grocery store, the grocery store was limiting canned goods to 3 per person, and they only had cream corn, and I got it because I didn't want to be without. I'm also going to add sugar. So there is a big debate on whether sugar belongs in cornbread. I say yes, because cornmeal by itself is bitter. If you don't want to use sugar, you can use honey. And normally I do use honey in my cornbread, but I have a whole bunch of sugar. Actually, Dixie Crystal Sugar is one of my blog sponsors, and so I'm going to use that. You also want to add oil or melted butter. I'm just going to add oil, and I have some melted butter for a different application. So at this point, you want to stir everything up. Like to take that yolk and break it up so it's easy to mix. And you just want to stir everybody together because it's a party. You can also add a little bit of salt if you'd like to. So self-rising flour has salt, baking powder, and baking soda in it, so you don't need to add salt. And I'm not going to add salt either. So at this point, you can see it looks like a very, very thick batter, especially with that corn added in. And you just want to mix this bad boy up. And then we get to the fun part. So also I wanted to note, if you don't have milk or sour cream or buttermilk, or what else did I say you could put in here? I think that's it. You can also use water. So if you use water, it'll be a little bit more loose, and there's nothing wrong with that at all whatsoever. So in my preheated oven, I have a pan, a cast iron skillet, and I'm going to show it to you right